So the last couple of times, I think I've been numbering these incorrectly because as I was uploading the videos earlier today, I realized that my numbers were out of sequence. So today is actually episode 136. I thought it was 135 because I thought last week was 134. But we are in episode 136, and I have, they're uploaded in my YouTube channel, Laina Orlando, and they're uploaded on my Facebook, what I call it my business page, which is Laina Orlando. I know my personal and my Facebook both have the same name, but my business page, my little photo, if you will, is just my signature. So that's how you can tell the difference. One, I have a picture of me with my little grandson and my dog, and the other one just has my signature. But today is February the 7th, and actually 2024, I actually woke up with this incredible sense of like more purpose today. And it's really, I'm feeling the emotions of it. This journey has been a journey that it's been fascinating. Those of you who've been to my classes and have seen the circle that I draw, I'm getting a poster made. We're in the middle of working out some details for a different poster. When that one's done, he'll do a poster of the soul's journey to show the stages that we go through, the phases that we go through in this process of awakening, of ascension, of returning to the truth of who we are. Because we all come in aligned with our God essence, and then we get conditioned, we get trained out of it, and then we feed the ego, we build an ego, we create a personality structure that is big. And here, let me mute that. So anyways, we create a personality structure that is fed by the ego. This is where whoever we happen to naturally be becomes used for the purpose of feeding the ego's insecurities, jealousies, feeding its sense of worth through financial worth, becomes a net worth, becomes a self-worth through the body, utilizing the body. Do I have big boobs? Do I have pretty face? Am I a model type? Am I tall? Am I this? Am I that? Or am I too short? Am I too fat? Am I too this, too that, or whatever? So our ego creates a way of being in the world, in this third dimensional plane. That's what the density is all about, the energy that we are. This is so funny. It's just the synchronicities never stop. I started watching a video last night and I shared it, the one I shared with you, Crystal. I posted it on my Facebook page, both pages, by the way. Things that are profound, I tend to post on both pages, pretty much my teachings just in my business page. But when I start a workshop, one of the first things that I start off with is explaining to people my perception, or sharing my perception of the very simple formula that was given to us by Einstein, E = mc squared. And I've got a course that's going to be coming online through an organization that is phenomenal. And when I started my presentation for the recording of that online course, I started it off with E = mc squared. If you ever happen to watch that video, or pretty much any one of my class videos, workshop videos, I should say, I start off with E = mc squared. Einstein told us that the energy of all that is seen equals the matter that we see. So because of light, we can see matter. We have the experience of seeing matter. We think we see with our eyes. So everything that is energy that we sense as matter is all one and the same. So through this journey, as I began to realize that I'm not a body, I am energy that is appearing to express itself as a body. Well, where this energy comes from? Where does it come from? It's God. And there's only one source. And whether you call it God or spirit, it doesn't matter what you call it. It is what is. It's not interested in arguing about its name because it doesn't label itself. It just is. Well, our ego is the labeling of things. It's this idea that we have to be separate and special and different and compete and all of those things that we have been conditioned to believe that we're supposed to do. So this journey is about understanding that we're not just the matter that we see. As a matter of fact, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because we are not going to find our peace until we make peace with the fact that we're made of energy. Because then we've got to cultivate a whole new relationship with, well, then what do I do? What happens if I'm energy? It's totally different. It's a 180. It's a complete different experience. As energy, you know you're one with everything. So there's nothing to argue and compete with. There's simply everything is one. As energy, you're expanding, you're creating. It is constantly in motion. It is an expression, as an expression of what it is as oneness that is at peace with itself, because it's connected to all that is. It's one with all that is. It loves all that is because it's creating and expressing and continuing to expand what is. So that's where love and joy and peace, well, if you're creating and you're expanding, it's fun. So this essence that we are, that is pure energy, because we can, because we're creators, created by God to create like God. And Course in Miracles is really clear, because all of my teachings come from this book, Course in Miracles. And the reason I focus on that book, even though I've read 500 plus books over the 20-year journey that I've been on, is because it's the only one that I have found that specifically instructs us on how to retrain our mind away from egoic thinking and toward knowing as God. Because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to know what God knows, because that's how we will extend the kingdom of heaven. And we have not been extending the kingdom of heaven because we have suppressed ourselves. We have contracted ourselves into a small idea of who we are. And when we're in a tight idea of who I think I am, it's all about what can I get? What can I get to survive, to make me okay, to make me safe, to make me loved, to make me not be alone, to make me somebody. Well, in that selfish, greedy service to myself identity, it's a contraction, because you're literally pulling from the all that isness a little pocket of it, a tiny little pocket, and you're like, okay, this is what I am. This is me. This is it. This is it. And I'm special, and I'm, right, and I know everything, and very, of course, delusional, because we think that this tiny little expression of God is the only one that can possibly be right. And then, of course, if we connect with a few others who think the same thing, well, then we create, if it's not so, if it's not malevolent, it becomes a community, a family, a community, maybe a country, maybe even a planet. But when used in a malevolent way, this I am right and I know what's, is right for everybody, the ego becomes a dictator. The ego becomes, really, that's where evil comes from, is this delusional idea of turning our back on God and thinking we are God, we are it, we are that, from a greedy, selfish, crazy perspective. Course in Miracles calls it insane. You got to be nuts to think that you are God from a selfish place. But when you go on this journey and you unpack the lies and you remove the veil and you let the scales fall off your eyes, whatever analogy you want to use, whatever metaphor you want to use, it doesn't matter. When you decide to see clearly and to begin to question everything, and you will, if you follow the guidance of your inner knowing, your soul, your essence. Again, it doesn't matter what we label things. Once we move past the labels, we all know what we're talking about. We don't have to qualify it and classify it. As a matter of fact, this morning, the feeling that I felt is because I have been on this amazing journey for this past year, moving to Colorado, moving into a totally, completely different area, nothing that I had ever planned or seen as in my future, ever. But yet here I am. And that's because I was following guidance. I knew I had to be here because this is where my first grandchild is, and my grandbaby that's going to be born in a few months is also here. This is the place where I'm supposed to be for my expansion, the expansion of my soul. Once I made the decision through this journey that I am not letting my ego run my life, which is a very painful experience because you're literally saying, I'm not who I say I am. And if you don't have, in the beginning, that would send you to a, insane asylum. That would make you, people would realize, are you bipolar? What's wrong with you? Because I was literally seeing myself as two parts. There was my egoic identification, and there was the truth of who I am that is changeless and forever will be one with God, and forever will be non-physical, forever will be pure energy expressing itself in this lifetime, in looking like this. So creating a relationship with the truth of who we are requires that we let go of what we're not, because it's like a costume. You got to take it off. You cannot wear your third grade costume for the rest of your life and walk around. When I was in third grade and Halloween, and I put on a costume, or my little kids, when they were 3, 4, 5 years old in third grade, and they would put on a costume. If I let them keep that costume, let's say one of them was a, what was that character? The Power Rangers. If I would have just said, okay, you can wear your Power Ranger outfit forever from third grade, that young man today is 26 years old. He would look pretty silly walking around with the same Power Ranger outfit. Number one, it wouldn't fit him. He would have busted right through it. But I couldn't let him walk around thinking that that's who he was at third grade. Just wear it one time. It's a party. It's done. It's over with. And that's it. But had I been an unconscious mother, which I was, but let's expand this, and said, oh yeah, that's who you are, sweetie, and that's who you're going to be for the rest of your life. It's no different than what we've done with our ego mind. We put on a costume when we were little. We learned how to behave to get what we needed to get to survive, our mother, our father, a teacher, a preacher. And we took on that persona, and we haven't taken that costume off. That's the ego. And we operate from that as if that is the truth of who we are, and there's nothing else. And so much of that training was just for survival, because we didn't have adults we could count on. Why? Because all the other adults were putting on a costume that they picked up when they were little children, and they were acting out from their own insecurities. And insecure people raising insecure children who grow up to be parents and raise more insecure children. We have had a world for thousands of years that's been manipulated by those who don't know the truth of who they are. But what they do know is the power of the mind, and they have been controlling the minds of those who didn't know how powerful their mind was. And none of this should be used to blame anybody, because as we've been studying in A Course in Miracles, we are still in chapter 30, we're still in the new beginning, we're still in section number 5, and it's titled The Only Purpose. As we saw in the last couple of weeks, the only purpose for this world that the ego has made is forgiveness. This is where we come to have an experience. We descend into the density where we think that we're separate from one another, to have an experience of separation. And that would have been fun. It really, truly would have been fun if all of us were pretending to be separate, knowing that we are really one. That would have been a blast. But that's not what has happened. We have been deliberately conditioned by those who understood how powerful the mind is into giving our power away. We have been conditioned into believing that we need stuff and money and titles and partners and jewelry and what do they call that? Oh goodness, when you do surgery on your face. My mom did that, altered her face. Anyways, I can't even think of the word. But anyways, oh my goodness, if somebody knows the word that I'm talking about, type it for me. But anyways, facelifts, yes, and all kinds of surgeries to alter who we are because we're not happy with who we are. We have been sold that we need to look a certain way to be okay. And when we are trying to be okay and we don't know who we are, we will sell our soul to the devil. And in this world of the 3D realm, this level of density that we're playing at, like I call it, I know I mix metaphors all the time. So it's like in the when you go to an adventure park and you go to like Six Flags in Georgia, there's always a haunted house as part of the game. Well, the third dimension, planet Earth, is like the haunted house of the universe. This is where we come, we willingly enter through into that haunted house, and we have the shit, the crap scared out of us, the shit, whatever you want to call it, scared out of us, until we can begin to understand the rules of the game and stop getting scared like that. So we have got to understand that we have been conditioned out of remembering that we are powerful, and with free will gave our power away to have the crap scared out of us. As we wake up, we have to go through the process of realizing that we did all this. Nobody did it to us. It was a choice. That's a real challenging part of the journey, because in the beginning, we don't start off wanting to blame ourselves. We start off blaming other people. We got to start with mother and father and teacher and preacher. Once you go through the long list of all the people you want to blame, and you realize, oh, you can blame them all you want, but the issues are still in you, you got to come to yourself. You got to come to the place where, well, I'm in charge of my happiness. Why do I keep saying, well, I can't be happy because of what dad did to me, or I can't be happy because of what mom did to me. I can't be happy of what my ex-husband or ex-wife did to me. Once you are done with the blame game, you come back and realize there's only you. That's it. There's only you. But it takes a while to go through the journey of pointing fingers until you realize, all right, you gotten rid of all the people you were pointing at, but they're still the finger. Well, who's the finger attached to? And that's when you got to go, oh, me. It's attached to me. I'm the one who did all of this. And when we get to the place of that awareness, is such liberation. And like I said, for me, coming here was because I've been on this journey for a long time. And my next level of expansion is to let my grandchildren be my teachers, be my gurus, to sit in the place of realizing that they know better than I do because they're closer to the truth. I have done a lot of work to get closer to the truth, but they are closest to the truth because they're still innocent, unspoiled, still not fully programmed, very little programming as of yet. They're operating from their desires to just do whatever is fun in the moment, which is what we need to do, become like little children so we can have more fun. We were just talking about that here a few minutes before we started the recording. When we get to that place that we all are just completely authentic, we know that we're pure energy. There's no competition. There's only collaboration and co-creation. Well, we're going to experience heaven on earth. And that's where we're headed. The new earth is the world that we are co-creating at a high vibration of consciousness. We all know the truth. So there's nobody to cheat. There's nobody that wants to be in charge of anything, where everybody is operating truly knowing that we are in the playground. We don't have to go to the haunted house anymore. We've got this whole playground, this whole amusement park. We're just going to have fun here. Course in Miracles helps us navigate this journey step by step by step by step. My Monday night class we're going through the lessons. We're doing a deep dive into the lessons, and not everybody can handle that. Going into the lessons, really going to the depths of the meaning of what these lessons are teaching and tying the lessons together, tying them to the text, it's not an easy task. But the ego is not going to focus a lot of time doing that. That has to be somebody who, in my opinion, is pretty advanced in their journey, because they are not there to look for things that are going to make me feel better. They're there to look for what is the instruction that allows us to co-create heaven on earth. Course in Miracles calls it the happy dream. But people can't be looking for the happy dream while they're busy still doing their selfish work, which is, well, how can I be happy? So the work that we all have to do goes through stages. First, yes, we blame everybody else. Then we do the work with us. Once we do the work with us, then we do the work of how we show up in the world as one who is awakening, one who is ascending in consciousness. But then eventually the work is not about that. It's about the co-creation of the happy dream, the new earth, because you're guided. You have given your whole life, not my will, but yours be done. You are operating as there's no other word that's coming up as a servant, but it's not a servant as in a bad thing. You are in service to the allness that you are part of. So what you do for others, you do for self. This is what Jesus taught us 2,000 years ago, but we couldn't get it 2,000 years ago. Do unto others as you like done unto you. But the new earth, the happy dream that we're moving to, that is being co-created by people who have completely given up operating from their selfish ego. We still have a sense of ego simply because ego is what allows us to have the experience of otherness. But you are experiencing otherness with reverence for the oneness first and foremost. So you get to be an other expression of the one. So you're not getting gratification because you're special. Your gratification comes from the part that you're playing for the wholeness. And these are paradoxes. You are happiest when you know you are an aspect of the one. You are one of billions of aspects of the one. But you know that you are one and there's no aspects, so your mind has to be totally, completely cleaned up from any idea, any sense of separate self, and trained into accepting that you are the one self. There's only one. So anyways, lots of different things have to happen. And I'm just moving into places of more and more being called into service in a bigger way that I just didn't think I was going to be doing. But I'm sitting here like, okay, tell me what to do. And we're going to do it because my greatest joy is being in service to God, period. And when I'm in service to God, I'm in service to the collective. And I mean, how fun to play with playmates. And I've got to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you here. Not so much this past year, but the years leading up to that, through the COVID pandemic and all of that stuff, I was literally shocked by the response of the spiritual community to what was happening. And I went through a period that I was like, what's going on here? This community that I thought understood that we all create our reality is in fear and blaming and shaming people. So I went through a period of having to pull back and go, well, I'm judging them for judging, those of us who don't want to follow what we're being told. And I realized, oh my gosh, the spiritualized ego is something else. Not only does it think that it knows better, which is what they were doing, but it thinks that it knows better, which is what it was doing. So the projection was perfect. But there has to be a letting go of even the communities that you think you belong to, because anything that has specific things, well, this is what we do. And, if you don't do it this way, then you're not part of the group. It's still a limitation. And to move beyond labels and boundaries and what you belong to until you belong to all that is, meaning you don't belong to anything here because you're one with all of it. And it's just such an incredible journey. I'm trusting some of you, if not all of you, know what I'm talking about or can have a sense of what I'm sharing, and it makes sense, even though it might sound a little crazy at times. But let's go to the Course in Miracles. Let's go to paragraph number 6. And to understand paragraph 6, we just finished reading the last couple of paragraphs before that, where in paragraph 4, we were told that the final step, once we say yes to God, is God's. Because the final step, let me use this drawing to show you. We come as expressions of God, every single one of us. Expressions of God. We choose to be born. We enter the illusion, and we're all born at that higher frequency. All babies are. And little by little, we are conditioned by those who are down here. They pull us down. Our parents indoctrinate us to their level. The teachers indoctrinate us to their level. The government indoctrinates us down to their level. That's why kids have to go through 12 years of training to learn how to give their power away to a teacher, to only get up when the bell rings, to hold their bladder until it's, recess time or whatever. We're being trained into doing things the way others want us to do it. And if we have to be trained to their level, it's got to be below us, because if we come in at this level, we don't need to be. If they were at a higher frequency, they would be training us down. They would be playing with us here. That would be like the Montessori schools, places where they teach the children, they encourage the children to express themselves. But the traditional teaching is about dumbing down humanity. So God takes the final step, means God took the first step. In the creation of all that is, there was a decision for us to experience being humans. We descended and we got conditioned and we got pulled into lower and lower and lower densities. From here, we have an awakening, things begin to change. Usually something big happens and it shakes us, and we begin the process of the search, and we begin to move up in consciousness. We're removing the layers of conditioning. These are layers and layers of conditioning, and then we're letting them go. We're freeing ourselves. We're rising in consciousness. Well, once you get to this level, God takes the last step, because you can't do anything more than to stop pretending that you're not God. God has to take the final step, which is God is you. You can't do that. If you attempt to do that, that's your ego attempting to be God. But when it comes from within, from a very humble place where you realize this is all a dream, there's a knowingness within. This is what Jesus was teaching us. He knew he and the Father were one. He didn't have to take the final step. He simply accepted that God had already taken that step, because God is what he was made of, to the point that he could lay down his body because he was not a body. Until we are not afraid of letting go of this body, until we are no longer attached to this body, and we can say, yeah, you're going to kill it. It's no big deal. Until you are at that level, then there's still attachments to this physical vessel. And while we're still trying to arrange things to make them work out and fix things, and then we're still a level of attachment to this sense of separation. So we all have to be honest about that. Course in Miracles is telling us, once we have totally, completely done what this world is about, which its purpose is to give us the opportunity for us to forgive ourselves for forgetting that we're not just humans, to forgive ourselves for forgetting the power that we have to have co-created this insane asylum. We have co-created, we have all been complicit in participating in the creation of a nightmare that now many of us are like, you know what, that's pretty boring. It's not fun being in the nightmare anymore. So we're up leveling our game. We're up leveling to something that's a lot more joyful, brighter, funner, and in many cases with different playmates. So in this particular section, that we're in, which is the only purpose, and God is the one who's going to take the final step, that means you've got to drop ego to the point that you are prepared for God to take over again. You don't have God take over. You remove the obstacles to God taking over, because God's always been there waiting for us to not try to do everything all by ourselves, like we did when we were little, and we continue to do as we grow older, because, well, that's what a mature person does. Well, we're not here to be mature. As we've been taught by the adults, we are here to mature spiritually so that we know the truth. And the more we know the truth, the more we become like little children, because little children don't have those agendas except in the moment to have fun and enjoy life. So we are being told that the more that we get clear about the truth of who we are, we've done the forgiveness work. We forgive the world for thinking that it had what we needed to be happy. We come back here and we recognize, oh, I'm the one who forgot. We take 100% responsibility for how I feel. And once you are in 100% responsibility, you want to feel freedom, that you want to feel happiness, there is absolutely nothing to do but to come to the place as it told us over here. Let me find this line. Let me see what paragraph it was in. Let's see. Yes, in paragraph number 2, it told us that the possibility of freedom has been grasped and welcomed, and the means by which it can be gained can now be understood. Until you realize that you're forgiving, you're forgiving for forgetting, then you begin to feel that freedom. Oh, if I'm the one who makes it all up, what do I prefer? And if I'm brothers and sisters with all of creation, what do I prefer? So there's a freedom that begins to come in that activates this awareness that we can do things quite differently, where you don't have to pollute the planet. Nobody has to get sick. Nobody has to get hurt. Nobody has to have lack. Nobody has to go hungry. In that place, whoa, I can create all of this. Yeah, we're the creators of our reality, but we can create that while we're still looking to the outside to take care of us. If we need the outside to keep us safe, if we need the money to come from the government, if we need the money to come from anything outside of us, we're still relying on the 3D world to provide for us. So the mind, we've got to be so freaking honest with this. We've got to get to the place that it's a game. No, the outside doesn't take care of me, but I'm playing the game of maybe like I do. I work at a restaurant, which I am just loving so much, taking care of people, and there's an exchange of abundance, and it's just so much fun. And to some degree, yes, that is to be able to pay the bills or whatever it might be, but it's so much fun. It's so much joy. There's no way when I was in my 20s, I could have done it the way that I do it now. It's just so different because it's playing the game. This is just what I'm creating in this stage that I'm on as I continue my journey into this co-creation of the new earth, because there's nothing outside of me that makes me happy. There's just nothing out there. The joy comes from within to experience whatever it is that I'm experiencing. The peace doesn't come from the outside. The security, the safety, the goodness, the well-being, it does not come from the outside for me. That shift was made quite a few years back. It's now about settling into that. And then from here, finding the tribe that co-creates from that place. And it's very, very different. So in paragraph number 5, we are being told that the real world is a state in which the mind has learned how easily do idols, this is other people that we give power to, how easily those idols, we let them go when they are still perceived, but no longer wanted. So when we can see the boss, when we can see the spouse, when we can see the president, when we can see the doctor, and you know that they're there as they think they're positions of authority, and they are playing roles in your reality now, but you don't need them anymore to be your source of power, permission, your source of safety, your source of freedom, your source of well-being. Then there are just characters in the play. They may think that you think that they are important, and that's okay. They can have that delusion because they're at whatever level of consciousness they're at. But if you're aware that they have no power over you, you are experiencing freedom to walk about and just enjoy this incredible show. I mean, it's just an amazing play. And then what we are being told is how easily we can begin to let go of desiring anything that is of a low frequency, meaning competitive and lack and limitation and striving and working hard to get. And we see, wow, they're playing that game. We all have to go through a period where we're observing the players totally, completely detached, see that they're playing those roles. I mean, there's a president that I prefer is the one that will be elected, and that there is a people that I think are better leaders than others, but they're all playing games. They have no power to make me feel happy. They have no power to make me feel safe. They're characters, and I'm rooting for the characters in the game, which is really fascinating. Whether they have those rules or not, it doesn't matter, because none of it is real in terms of it is not solid. Why? Because E equals MC squared. It's all energy appearing as matter, and it's all the same energy. So there is nothing right or wrong about it. There's no good or bad about it, except for the decision to contract and pretend to be separate. That's it. It's all the same one energy. It cannot be anything else, because there's only one energy. So paragraph number 6, Jesus tells us through A Course in Miracles, thus is the world's real purpose gently brought into awareness to replace the goal of sin and guilt. As we can see the characters, and they no longer make us feel like, oh yeah, that's a precedent that's going to save us, or that's a precedent that's going to ruin us. When it is neutral, when they're just characters playing the game and you're the observer of the game, there will be absolutely no guilt or shame or anger or upset. You won't be activating that energy here. Well, guess what's happening? When you're at peace over here, and more of us are at peace over here, and this number grows of people who are clear that none of that has power, this energy is becoming lighter. It's becoming more expansive. That energy that was contracted has less power, because less people are thinking that they have power. So it's almost as if, I'm getting a drawing done so that I can use it and explain what I'm talking about more clearly. But have you seen those yin and yang signs where there's the big circle? And I used to have one. I don't know where it is. My old office in Georgia. So one half of the circle is white with a little black dot. The other half of the circle is black with a little white dot. So we all come in as the white side with a little black dot when we become human, because we're coming in to pick up an ego and appear or have an experience of separation. So that little black dot for a child, little by little, gets darker and darker until we pretty much are operating in darkness with one tiny little white dot. The journey of waking up is to take that little white dot. It's leading us to wake up, and that expands and expands and expands until the point that there's only a little black dot remaining in the symbol, and you are primarily white, and white is just a symbol of truth. You know more truth, and you're operating from the lie, the illusion of separation. So as we become lighter, that's what enlightenment is about. We become lighter. We know more truth. We have more freedom. There is less density in us. There's less darkness. There's less lies within us that operate. So you no longer have to feel guilty or shame or blame anything. So as more of us move to operate from that neutrality, the illusion is collapsing, because there's not enough people afraid of it. There's not enough people. I mean, watch what's happening with the media. I mean, this is so perfect. That's who we all went to before to get our news. And then we began to see, whoa, there's a lot of lying going on. And then we began to see that the programming is the same everywhere. How can supposedly independent news people be saying the same thing? So we began to see that there was a program called Project Mockingbird, back in the 50s or the 60s, where the news was literally used to disseminate specific information to the masses. Why? Those who knew how to program the mind were programming our mind. That's why television shows were called programming. We just didn't know that, but now we do. So our mind was programmed, and we were all watching, and we got programmed through COVID. So much began to happen, and we began to see, wait a second, something's off here. And a lot of us no longer watching television. We're over here doing our own thing. Well, guess what happens? They get paid based on how many eyes are watching. So less eyes watching, they're getting paid less. They're laying off people. I just read something, I think it was, if not this week, last week, where so many traditional mainstream media, they're shutting down. They're laying off newscast people, reporters, whatever, because it's crumbling. That system is crumbling. Why? Because those people who were not looking to get indoctrinated were searching for information that was more accurate, that helps us navigate the game without needing to to do it so that it benefits only a few, so that only the advertisers got rich. Here, it's not about the advertisers getting rich. It's about people getting accurate information so that they can play the game with more information, accurate information, because they're wanting to get out of the illusion. That's what's happening is people are playing the game to get out of the illusion. Here, we were playing the game getting sucked into the illusion. So the circle, the half of the yin yang circle was darker. Here is only a little bit of light, but here there's more light and there's still a little bit of ego because, it's still, we are still playing the game of separation, but it doesn't run the show. The ego is not running the show because people can feel and sense when somebody is lying to them, and that is no longer vibrationally a match. So thus is the real world's purpose gently brought into our awareness. The real world's purpose is we forgive ourselves for forgetting. We got programmed, and now over here, we're not giving our power away to idols outside of us. We are collectively finding our own power, our own strength, and we are serving and helping one another. So sentence number 2 says, and all that stood between your image of yourself and what you are, forgiveness washes joyfully away. And now what stands between your idea of who you are, your egoic persona, and the truth of who you are, a soul having a human experience? You put on the costume. I put on the costume of Laina, but I'm not Laina. I put on the costume of Laina. So the things that are specific to Laina, that are selfishly oriented, those things have to be let go of. What is of God, the soul, playing the role of Laina in service to the greater good? Yes, with preferences. I prefer to live here. I prefer to eat this. I prefer to wear that. All of those things are okay because what I eat or what I wear, that doesn't hurt anybody when the ego is not using it to flaunt or to create drama with. Once it is just strictly for sustenance, you're not hoarding. You don't need to have more than what you need. I mean, the minimalism that begins to happen when you move down this path is unbelievable. I used to have the more toys I had when I died, the more success I had. Now I realize that's crazy. I was just feeding the machine by buying crap that I didn't need. But it was all fun and games. And now here we are. We are at a place where so many of us have crossed the veil. We see the veil of illusion. We are clear that we prefer to own that we are creators of our own reality. But to do that, we have to forgive ourselves for being complicit in the co-created reality of suffering that we were all playing in. Not to blame anybody, but to forgive ourselves. My God, I forgive myself for having forgotten and created so much suffering. All the people that we hurt, all the people that hurt us, there's no point in carrying a list because it doesn't matter. We're all one, realizing we're playing the game differently, and there are no winners and losers here. There are no victims and bullies here. So you can't transfer that forgiveness over here, but forgiveness helps you see what's here, and it lets you release it. Oh, okay, well, I forgave it. I mean, it's done. What happens is little by little, you forget a lot of that stuff. I mean, I have a hard time recalling details of things. I'll have people sit with me and tell me about something that happened 30, 40 years ago, and I'm going, I went through a stage of divine Alzheimer's where I forgot so many details of things because the ego holds on to details to hold stories together. And then I began to forget things, and I was like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. Yeah, I was losing my egoic mind. Such a beautiful process. It took me about almost like 10 years. I was forgetting things. But then I realized, but I can recall it if I want to. I don't want to recall the old stuff. I mean, one of my sisters has a grudge from like 30 years ago. I can't recall that nonsense, because to recall that, I've got to lower myself and remember that I was a victim or that I was a bully. I don't want to do that to myself. I freed myself not to go back into that same bondage. So here we've got to realize that forgiveness is going to wash all that. We have to be joyful. It's going to be gone. You're not going to remember stuff that holds the illusion together. You're going to have created the space, the blank mind, as we're told in A Course in Miracles, the blank mind that now can be impressed with creativity, something new that's never been. We cannot have something new relationships, new financial systems, new well-being systems, new education systems. If your mind is filled with the old, you can't build a new house on an old house. I mean, you could do additions, and yeah, sometimes that's nice. But if you want something totally new and different and efficient and modern and up to date, now you got to level the old house, start new. Well, that's what we're doing. We got to level, we got to let the old go, fall away. In your own mind, you get to the place of your mind is blank. Then we're going to be building the new. So sentence number 3 says, yet God need not create his son again. God doesn't have to create you again. You're already created. And what is his be given back to him. The gap between your brother and yourself was never there. And what the Son of God knew in creation, he must know again. So simple. God doesn't have to create you again. You've already been created. What we're doing is we're removing all of the costumes, all of the pretend stuff that we have been using while we've been playing this game. Now we're realizing, oh, we're all brothers and sisters. We all came from the same source. Now we're giving ourselves back to God. Do you remember the story in the Bible of the prodigal son? The son that went off and did all kinds of things and squandered all the money and all kinds of stuff. And then he comes back. Eventually he says, Father, forgive me. And the father says, there's nothing to forgive. Come on, let's have a party. We're going to get the best food, the best stuff. We're going to create a banquet for you. We are all the prodigal children. We are coming back to say, not my way. I'm not going to do it my way anymore. My way only creates drama and havoc. I want to do it your way. God doesn't have to recreate the son. The son just comes back into its right mind. Force calls it that. When we come to remember the truth of who we are, we enter the right mind. And we leave the wrong mind that got programmed through television, through parents, through books, through lies, through nonsense, through fear. And then we come to the place that we remember the truth of who we are. And as it says in here, you forget the old joyfully. It gets washed away because it's not important. The old stuff is not going to help you in the new earth. The new earth has to be a blank canvas where we start anew, where we start, in many cases, back to the beginning. Just as little children get trained, I did, and descend, and then we return back to the beginning. Well, we're going back to the beginning of so many things that were natural on earth, back to the beginning of medicinal remedies, all of them coming from Mother Earth. We're going back to a pristine planet. We're going to clean things up. The ideas for cleaning it up are coming through the minds of the children that are not so focused on, oh, there's global warming and everything is polluted and everything is bad, or how much money can I get out of this? Those kids that are coming in that are young now, their minds are not being filled with all that old stuff. Their minds are bringing in new ideas that is going to totally, I see that within the next generation, which is another 50, 60, 70, 80 years, we are going to do a 180. This planet is doing a 180. Things are going to get cleaned up. Things are going to get restored to a place of equality, of transparency, of life, for everyone to experience life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So when I cheer for a specific candidate, I'm cheering for the one that I feel is of the highest vibration, that is more in alignment with the co-creation of the new earth, not anything other than that. Because it's very clear to see one who does things for the greater good of all, one who does things for the greater good of self, for himself or his children or his family. And that is what is most important, is protecting that versus the person, the children, the family. They're out in service for the greater good of all. It's easy to observe where people stand vibrationally when you have done the work. And instead of pointing fingers, you're just observing. Then it's so easy to see the role that everybody plays. Anyways, I just love the Course in Miracles. I'm so grateful that you come and you spend time with me. These transmissions, this stuff comes through me. It only comes through me because we have this agreement that I just let God say whatever wants to be said through me. And it's all to remind us that we are the powerful creators of our reality. There is nothing outside of us that has power over us, except that we pretended that it did so we could have the experience of separation. And as we recognize, well, it has no power, whatever mom did to me 40 years ago, it can't affect you today unless you choose to be affected by it. So that divine Alzheimer's that helped me forget all those details is just amazing, because today I can't be blaming anybody else, because that's to put density in me. I'd have to contract. I'd have to feel bad. I don't like feeling bad. I like feeling light and airy and happy and free. That's my normal now. So I'm not going to give that up to be right about anything for anybody. So from that space, thank you again for coming. And I hope these teachings help you. If anybody has anything that you want to share, great. If not, come back and see me next week and we'll gather together. And I'm feeling something's brewing, so I'll be sharing as I go. I've got a Course in Miracles class that I'm doing, the lessons, with some students who I consider my most advanced students who've been studying this for a very long time and are really committed to getting the essence of the course. And I'm thinking I might start another Course in Miracles class, more for beginners, intermediates, to begin to understand what is there. Because if we don't really fully comprehend the steps to free our mind from the ego, we'll still experience, some suffering. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're experiencing more of the truth of who you are, more freedom, but why not just let all the suffering go? All the worry, all the guilt, all the shame, why not just let it all go? It's not who God created you to be, but it's what you can experience because you are the creator of your own reality. See, it all comes back around to that. We are the creators of our reality. We were created to create. We miscreated. Now we're co-creating with love, joy, and peace. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. I'm going to turn this off and see you next week. Love you all. Bye-bye.